Namaste. So far we learned representing probability distribution and how to perform marginalization. In this video I will present conditional probability. Essentially it is about updating a distribution based on some additional condition. In the context of the example we have chosen, imagine that traffic police provides the information of traffic situation on each day. Based on this, people who manage cafeteria want to dynamically update their plans. They want to guess in advance how the probability distribution changes conditioned on an event E, such as traffic is not high. So, what happens to the table on the days in which traffic is not high? Such an event E will retain only the row numbers indicated in the colored one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, because the rows 5, 6 and 11 and 12 corresponds to the value B where the traffic is high. So they will all, as per the conditioning E, these 4 columns cannot happen at all. So these 4 rows cannot occur at all. So they will be eliminated. So how to populate the new table with the updated information? Is it sufficient that we just remove these 4 rows? The answer is no, because the main condition on a probability distribution is that the probability values that is in the last column should sum up to 1. If we remove these 4 rows, then this condition will fail. Hence we have to do something in addition. So we have to normalize these values. So first we have to sum up the probabilities that are in the rows corresponding to E. So when we sum up, actually we get the probability of E itself, and then divide each row by P of E, and then set those rows which are outside E to 0. Now let's try to get a more precise definition of what we did from set theoretic framework. E is the set using which we want to perform the conditioning. Okay, so it means that only one out of these listed elements in E has happened, and everything else outside the E cannot happen. Okay. For any subset of omega h, this may contain one or more rows of this table. Its probability of h conditioned on E, which is denoted by a backlash, is equal to probability of h intersection E divided by probability of E. This intersection in the numerator with E eliminates all the rows which are outside E, and then retains only those rows which are within E, and sums the value of probability of those rows. Then dividing by probability of E, we make sure that the whatever remaining retained columns rows are there, their probability sums up to 1. When we perform this intersection with E, it removes all the columns, all the rows which are not included in E. In contrast to marginalization, which removes one or more columns, the conditioning actually removes one or more rows. Now, without using the set theoretic definition, we are able to come up with such an elegant representation of the operation we did just now. Let's try to get some more insight into this using a dice example. Okay, let So consider throwing of a dice. Outcome omega is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let the probability be distributed among the subsets of omega as follows. This is what we derived earlier in one of the earlier videos. Okay. So let us condition this probability based on E. So E says that the outcome is definitely one of 1, 2, 5 and 6. Hence all the sets which do not contain even one element of E will definitely go to 0 after we condition on E. Okay. So we are yet to calculate it. So this is the probability before conditioning on E. Let's try to do it. So first we will calculate the updated probability of one of the subsets. So what we have to do is we have to intersect this set with E. So that's what we did here, and divide it, find out the probability of the set obtained by intersection, and divide the probability by the probability of E. So after intersection we get probability the set 1, 2, and the probability of 1, 2 as given here is 0.1, and probability of E is 1, 2, 5, 6, right, that is 0.5. So it's 0.1 by 0.5 is equal to 0.2. Continuing like this, we can find out the conditional probability of all other sets listed here. Okay, I have given those values on the left hand side. Please try to verify these values by doing calculations on your own. So applying conditional on conditional probability again. So we can treat the conditional probability distribution as just another probability distribution and apply conditioning further. So in this case, in this example, we let's try to apply the condition on set L 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, on those values which we on the probability values which we are obtained already by conditioning on E. So that is represented by probability conditioned on E, again conditioned on L. So do repeat the same calculation and you will find out that you will get these probability values across different subsets. As an exercise, verify that conditioning on E and then on L is equivalent to conditioning on E intersection L. So in this example, so E was 1, 2, 5, 6 and L was 3, 4, 5, 6. So instead of doing conditioning twice, you just do conditioning only once on 5 and 6 and you should be able to get the same value here. So since the intersection is commutative operation, so we can change the order of conditioning also. So E intersection L is equal to L intersection E. So we can first condition it on L and then condition it on E to get the same probability distribution as here. So hence algebraically we can write that probability of a set A conditioned on E and conditioned on L is equal to probability of A conditioned on EL or LE, anyway we can do. So it's also equal to conditioning on the set L intersection E. So enough of set theoretic point of view. Let's come back to the tabular form. Okay. So one question now is that after when we applied the conditioning on E, we eliminated some of the rows that are 5, 6, 11 and 12. Did we eliminate any variable by doing so? That is, did we eliminate any columns? The answer is no, because even after applying this condition, all the variables are there. So A changes in the retained rows. A changes 0 to 1. Here also in B, it changes from low, medium, low, medium, only high part is avoided, or in C also takes false and true. Okay, so we did not eliminate any of the variables. But there are special cases which we see often when during the conditioning we fix a value of a variable, okay, one or more variable. So those variables can be eliminated because they remain constant throughout the retained rows. So for example, suppose if we set that we got an information that traffic was low, so there's only one value for variable b in such cases. So it will retain only 1, 2, 7 and 8. So here, since the value of b is fixed throughout, we can ignore that column altogether. Let's form a new table after eliminating that variable. So we can select the rows and form a new table with columns only A and C. So when traffic is low, we get only these 4 rows. Okay, so though now this is a distribution only on A and C, though the values we get finally depends on the conditioning on B, but the distribution is on A and C, not B. Let's see how we can represent it in a formula. So the condition of B being 0 can be expressed as it is here. So we can represent that set as B is equal to 0 instead of defining another event of set and expressing it in the set theoretic point of view. Okay, so this formula is more elegant and expresses what we are actually doing than the set theoretic formula. Okay, this is more readable, but one question here we have to face is that earlier we have used this P of B, okay, single variable B, to represent the marginalized distribution of B. So we will obtain if we eliminate A and C by marginalization, then also we will obtain the same representation P of B. So is it consistent? Can we use this? Will it cause a confusion? Because whether this is P of B is equal to 0 or whether it is P of B obtained by marginalizing out A and C. Okay, so this is a question whether this our notation is consistent. So the answer is yes, it is consistent, because if we check how we computed the value of P of B is equal to 0, okay, P of B is equal to 0 is actually computed by these 4 rows, which can be precisely obtained by keeping the value of B fixed and performing summation over A and C. This is exactly how A and C are eliminated in the marginalization. So our notation is consistent according to the definitions. Now let us see what happens if we put the value of B, some different value to B. So for example, let us condition on B is equal to 1. So then it will select entirely different set of rows 3, 4 and 9, 0. So the resulting distribution can be computed using this expression, but note that now we obtain a new distribution on A and C, which is completely different than what we obtained when we conditioned it on B is equal to 0. So the resulting distribution for each different value of B, we obtain a different distribution on A and C. One final simplification while expressing the conditioning on a fixed value. So we have used to say that P of AC given B is equal to 0 is expressed like this, and P of AC given B is equal to 1 is expressed like this. Instead of repeating this B is equal to 1 or B is equal to 0 repeatedly, we can just say that P of AC given B is equal to P of ABC divided B. Okay, so but we have to remember here that this expression represents multiple tables. So B can for each different value of B, as we saw that we are getting a different distribution over A and C. So there, since value of B can be low, medium and high, there are 3 different values. So this whole expression in entirety represents 3 different distributions or 3 different tables. When we condition on multiple variables, like probability of A conditioned on B and C, we can express it as this. So as discussed earlier, the order in which the conditioning applied does not matter, so we can write it as well as P of A given CB as well. So in this expression on conditioning, so I would like to remind once again that the denominator P of B is obtained by marginalization of the bigger table. So marginalization is expressed like this. So P of B can be obtained by summing the P of ABC over A and C. So directly we can plug this value here. Okay, so we can rewrite this conditioning on B as P of ABC divided by the marginal distribution. Okay, symbol A dash and C dash are used to indicate that they are just indices of summation, and they are not the same as A and C or this A and C. Okay, so usually so sometimes for better readability these dash symbols are ignored, and it's understood that inside the summation they just represent the indices for summation. So all these results are applicable on continuous distribution also. So only thing is that we have to replace the summation by integration. So for example, P of xy given z is equal to P of xyz given P of z, and P of z is again obtained by marginalizing x and y out through taking integration. So here for better readability, I have did not indicate x and y by x dash y dash, but it should be understood from the context that in the denominator this xy is not same as what is there in LHS or in the numerator. So they are just integrating variables. If we look at the expression for conditional distribution, then we can just rearrange this equation by saying that the joint distribution of AB is equal to the conditional distribution of A given B into P of B. It's just a algebraic simple equation manipulation. And similarly, we can write that P of AB in terms of conditioning on A also. So now combining this and this, these are both are this and this both are same expressions. These are different expressions for the same value. So we can equate them together. P of B given A into P of A is equal to P of A given B into P of B, which implies that P of A given B is equal to P of B given A into P of A divided by P of B. So this is just simple algebraic manipulation, but turns out to be very useful in data science later when you do prior and posterior distribution. So these equations are used. So let's continue to do some more rearrangements. So here P of A B, we get P of AB is equal to P of A given B into P of B. So just changing the symbols to x1 x2, we get this expression. Just by adding more variables, by extending the same, we get this chain rule. So P of x1, x2, xn is equal to product of this conditioning. So there are many ways of forming this chain. So let's summarize what we have learned on conditioning. So conditioning updates an existing distribution based on additional information. It eliminates rows, unlike the marginalization, which eliminates columns. In a joint distribution, when conditioned on fixed values of a particular variable, of any set of variables, those variables get eliminated. The denominator in the case of elimination, the expression of conditioning under such an elimination is obtained through marginalizing, obtained through the expression for marginalization. So general formula represents multiple tables. So as we saw earlier that so based on the value of b, this expression represent multiple tables. Okay. So general formula represents multiple tables depending on the conditioned values, unlike marginalization, which does not, which represents only one table in its expression. So I have just summarized the set theoretic and joint and continuous expressions for conditioning. Okay, and here is summarization for conditioning with marginalization. So whatever the denominator p of y here is expressed through and below here with the marginalization. Okay, so one last thing is about the polymorphism of the symbol p, or which is used to represent probability. The symbol p, small p or capital P, which is used to represent the probability, is highly polymorphic, as we saw. It can represent many functions. So it can represent the joint distribution, it can represent the marginalized distribution, it can represent condition distribution, and even in marginalization sometimes one variable gets eliminated, sometimes two variables get eliminated, and same with the conditioning. So but if we understand the dynamism, we understand how these equations are derived, then there is no scope for confusion, and we can represent the probability without much clutter. So most of if you read articles which use probability techniques, there will be this marginalization and conditioning applied multiple times. So we can use the same symbol p without causing confusion. Okay, but there are occasions when we have to use two different distributions, entirely different distributions on the same set of variables. Okay, these distributions may not be related to each other through a single joint table. Only in such cases we will use different symbols to represent the probability. In such cases we can say that okay, one distribution as p of xy and another distribution as q of xy. So with this we have finished learning a significant portion of theory of probability. We can use this knowledge to manipulate equations which have real applications. So in the next video I will show some examples of how we manipulate the equations and to get the desired table from whatever table we have.